Welcome to the Course Creators Podcast with course design expert Jenny Rice. Whether you're an experienced creator or just starting out, this podcast helps build courses that resonate, transform, and make an impact. Each episode, we'll explore strategies and tips to help you create engaging, successful courses. Let's dive in.
Hi, this is Jenny Rice from Course Creators Podcast. I'm so excited about our guest today. We've got Renee Koster from Koster Creative Design and Learning. So welcome, Renee.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you here. So why don't we start with a little bit, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you got you here today.
Sure. Yeah. I started out, I call myself an innovative course creator because of the approach that I take. And I started out in teaching and had my undergraduate in anthropology. So I started out getting courses in teaching, but then switched over and I actually worked on an archaeology crew for several years before I then started teaching undergraduate courses in anthropology, research methods, presentation, and I got to do student advising as well. And that's where I met my husband, and we had a couple of kids, and I decided to stay home with them. And when it was time for me to get back into work, I wanted to be able to work for myself, work from home, still be present for my kids. And so I went and got a certificate in learning experience, design, and technology, and really fell in love with the emphasis that the program had on knowing your audience, accessibility, user experience, all of those things. And that's the approach that I started taking when I created my business, helping female entrepreneurs.
That's so great. That's so great that you took all of your background, you're learning anthropology, because that's a very unique topic in itself, right? But
Yeah.
took what you learned from teaching that into now how can I help other people create impactful courses? And I love that you used experience-based, you know, like innovative learning, like you're talking about, is really important. That's very exciting. Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit more what you offer to your clients, what courses, if you have some, and what transformation you offer. Would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I have a couple different ways that I help out my clients. I do both one-on-one and group strategy sessions. So for people who are trying to work through designing their courses or workshops themselves, I'll have strategy sessions, either one-on-one where we talk through wherever they're stuck, but I've also started offering group strategy sessions. And I find this so impactful because oftentimes the people who are showing up are helping each other. It's so beneficial because there's more than just the two minds working on this. It's really collaborative, and I love that. But I also offer packages where if this is just something that somebody wants done, they want to have a course, but they're not, for whatever reason, they don't want to do it themselves. I offer that design for them. And I also offer a course where I share my framework using big ideas and working backwards. And it's also rooted in knowing your audience and accessibility. And it helps people who want to do that again on their own really create something that's unique to them. It'll help them stand out, but it's also going to um, provide results for their clients, for the people that they're sharing their course with.
That's so great that you offer different services for different levels of people. So, like you said, a full suite of done for you in a way, helping them go through that. And I
Mhm.
really want to grab the point you talked about design too. It's so important when we look at design and you mentioned, your audience, who's your target audience and who are you directing the content towards, right?
Yeah.
Because if I use the example of anthropology, for example, so as a layman, what would they want to know about anthropology versus somebody that's studying it would be very different, for example, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's knowing who your audience is as you help and design and put those together, which is great.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've got original perspective on it too, in that the innovative part. You want to tell a little bit more about how you have your own model, you said?
Yes. So I based it off of a model that I learned through the certificate, backwards design. And I combine that with the knowing your audience. So we start with their big idea because I don't like to box people in to one deliverable. I don't want people to say, "Oh, this is definitely a course." I want people to be open to trying new things. So that's where the innovation comes in. Like, can we come up with something completely unique, completely different? So we start with the big idea, and then coming from that backwards design, we ask essential questions. What does my audience need to know to understand this idea? And how can I help get them there? What's the most creative, most engaging, most effective way to get my learners to understanding this topic?
That's great. That's great. So it's looking at what is their perspective of how they need to learn it versus what is the teacher's perspective or the author's perspective, right? Which is
Yeah.
really important. I use the analogy of a lot of times subject matter experts are race car drivers, but they're teaching people how to drive a car, right?
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
not my level of expertise, but it's what do my clients or my learners need to know, and how do I best communicate, train them, educate them on that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that analogy.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. People get that when the subject matter experts want to put in a whole bunch of content. I'm like, wait a minute, we're not teaching them to be race car drivers. We're just teaching them how to drive, right? So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
really important. So why don't you share if you had any challenges in creating courses, working with clients, and how did you overcome them?
My biggest challenge so far has been how do I fulfill my desire to create collaborative pieces in the online space. My experience before starting my business was completely in person, in lecture halls and seminar rooms, in in small classrooms with little kids, and find the challenge was to find ways to bring that interactivity to the online space. And one of the things that I've done is just that's part of how I came up with that innovative model, right? Trying to create something that hasn't been done, something unique. And one of the ways that I've come up with is the course that I have. It's actually a hybrid. It's recorded modules, but then there's also weekly sessions. And in those sessions, I set aside time for breakout rooms. So there's interaction between the different people who are taking the course, and it forms more of a community. So that community and collaboration was the biggest challenge so far.
Yeah, that's really important because people learn from each other and they learn from you, right? So
Yeah.
I find a lot of asynchronous courses, or as people listening to this, is where they do it on their own. They might get lost a little bit, or I'm confused. Whereas you get that group work, they can help each other, learn from each other, and say, "Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Thank you for bringing up that question." You can have some really good insight and input into that, which is wonderful. So
Yeah.
yeah. And how are your programs going then?
They're going well. I love my one-on-one work, and I'm excited to share share another opening up of the course module. Yeah.
Oh, great. That's so exciting. Well, I'm sure I'll for the learners that want to know more, we'll put that in a tagline so they can find out more and meet with you to talk to you about that. So as
Yeah.
we, finish up this podcast here, do you have any tips for other course creators that are, because you're so experienced and you have such a unique background, and some tips to help them as they're getting on board with creating their own courses?
Um, my biggest tip would be to find ways to play to your strengths within your course. So, um, and don't feel like anything that you perceive as I don't want to say weakness, but it's the only word that's coming to me right now. But if you're someone who doesn't like showing their face on camera, that's okay. You could create an audio course or just use your slides and just have your voice over the slides. There's ways to play to your strengths while still and make yourself feel comfortable. So don't limit yourself, and embrace trying new things, new ways of delivering your expertise, because there are definitely people out there who could benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that so that people are focused on what they do well and what they're strong in, what they like doing versus things that would hinder them from moving forward. What a
Yeah.
great tip and good inspiration to end the podcast too. So thank you for your insight and your stories have been really great.
Thank you. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for having me.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you being on this call, Renee. So this is Jenny Rice with Course Creators Podcast with Renee Koster. So thank you again, Renee.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Course Creators Podcast. For more insights and to connect with a community of creators, join our Course Creator channel on The Great Discovery. We offer both free and premium memberships. Check the link below. Until next time, keep creating, inspiring, and transforming lives.